Has there ever been a full count moment that was extremely intense that you can remember, even if you going back to the Pirates with all this time you've had?
Oh, I'm sure I've had and with the Pirates, I probably had a lot of bases loaded 3-2 counts, and I would like walk a guy for the
Yeah,
most part, and then not specifically that I can remember like exactly who was on and everything like that, but yeah,
sure.
for sure. Like there's in the background while I'm pitching, and the more I just like try to you like trust your training and not try to like feel your emotions so much. You just go and like I practice this all week. I do this, I do that. Like you almost try to remove how do I feel inside. I guess I try to not like think
Yeah.
too hard about that, and I used to a lot, but
Beach house or mountain house?
probably just for the I want both, I guess. But I would say
Three balls, two strikes, pressure is on. This is where we discuss real estate, property improvement, and business. Together, we'll strategize on how to win. Welcome to the Full Count. Hey everyone, we have the ultimate badass and pitcher of the Los Angeles Dodgers, Tyler Glasnow. Welcome to Full Count Podcast.
what's up, dude? Thanks for having me.
Of course, man. I really appreciate this. You know, you guys are charging into the postseason. How do you feel, and what's the vibe like currently at the clubhouse?
It's good. Everyone's just kind of normal stuff. Still got like a few more games of regular season, so it's like the I think too like baseball's kind of all more about like consistency and trying not to
Right.
make stuff bigger than it is. And I think we're just trying to finish out the season, and then once postseason starts, we'll tackle that.
Do you feel that most baseball players have that same type of mindset in terms of the consistency and not being too dramatic and feeling good or not feeling good?
Yeah, I think so. I think if you've like, especially doing it long enough, like a lot of times earlier in the minor leagues, like you kind of ride the up and down a lot.
Right.
But I think the more even keel you can, like you know that like you'll have good and bad, but try not to take it too hard and just you can always there's always a chance to redeem yourself. If you're a hitter, it's the next day. If
hmm
you're a pitcher, a reliever, it's in a few days. A starter, it's in 5 days. So I think so. It's a pretty
hmm
common like stance to have, I guess.
Yeah, I feel like because it's a game of failure a lot of times, so you kind of have to like forget everything, right? Like the next day, you got to start fresh. But when it comes to
Yeah.
like culture, how do you think has it changed at all in terms of this season versus past season? Because now you're going in as like the World Series champs the last time.
I think so. I think um, a bit. I think like our attitude going into it playing is the same. I think like I said, you kind of have to eliminate distractions and play how you can play and not try to
hmm
listen to the like external noise.
Right.
I don't know. I think it may be different for like fans potentially. I think winning it last year and then haven't had like a back to back in a long time. That's obviously something we want to achieve, and I'm sure the fans really want it too. So I guess it just depends on the individual.
Right, most definitely. You know, speaking of culture, Clayton Kershaw is like the cornerstone of that. Has I wanted to ask you, has there been a moment where he inspired you or gave you advice on how to approach the game that you can share with the audience?
Yeah, I think just in general, I think his work ethic, like every day. Everyone, when you go in like a starting pitcher, you pitch it once every 5, 6 days, but
Right.
the week in between, it's a lot of like routine oriented stuff, like lifting and running and different kind of like I don't know, like you're just preparing throughout the week. And I think just the intensity he brings every day and like his intensity on start day is
Right.
very much like hasn't fizzled out at all. I think him being there for 18 years and like just caring so much about winning and the team, it's like just super obvious and super apparent to me.
That's good. And especially him being a
Mhm.
pitcher, I mean, I'm sure that's like one of the people you like aspire to be like. I mean, you've already been performing very well, but you know, he's equivalent to you, so it's really cool that you got to have him in your career, right?
Yeah, so, and growing up around California or like north of LA and Santa Clarita, like watching him when I was in high school, me and my dad would always like put it on in the backyard and watch him pitch, and he was just
Right.
so like young and just dominating. So I think it was definitely someone I looked up to, especially going into like the minor leagues later that season. It was like, I guess everyone kind of has their people that they like
Sure.
look at and try to emulate a little bit.
Yeah, that's really cool. I don't think a lot of players get that opportunity all the time. So for you, that's amazing.
Hmm.
But I want to zero in
Yeah.
on you now. And I think you've kind of touched on a lot of points, but how do you handle pressure when it comes to these high stakes scenarios? I know you're talking about consistency and a little bit of like of all that, but is there like a technique you use? Because those listening and watching, whether they're in baseball or in business, like what kind of tips can you share? Because I know some people like affirmations they tell themselves. What about for yourself?
I think for me, like I used to not like if I was nervous before a start or if I was nervous before something, I would always try to like control it or find a way to not be nervous. And I think now I just like with anything, it's just like that's not super important, I guess. Like I'll be whether
Yeah.
I'm nervous or I'm not, like if I look at my stats or if I look at like the outcome of the game, like a lot of times how I feel before or during doesn't really affect how I pitch. Like it's just kind of like an emotion associated
Hmm.
or it's there in the background while I'm pitching. And the more I just like try to you like trust your training and not try to like feel your emotions so much. You just go and like I practice this all week. I do this. I do that. Like you almost try to remove yourself from that. It's not. It's
Right.
obviously easier said than done, but I think a
Yeah.
lot of it is just like not really putting too much weight into how I feel. It's more about just like what I'm trying to like get this done. It's just like trust your training, not
Hmm.
how do I feel inside. I guess I try to not like think
Yeah.
too hard about that. And I used to a lot, but now it's just try to just however I feel, just try to execute as best as I can, and then just one pitch at a time, and to try to simplify, to try to control what I can control.
That's kind of refreshing to hear because I feel like a lot of what goes on in society, and to some ways it does make sense. Like Tony Robbins always talks about how you feel and the inspiration inside you, burn inside you. But the way you kind of portrayed that, I think that's a better way to approach things depending on the person. But I'll definitely take that into account. So I appreciate that. I think the audience will
Yeah, no
too.
problem.
Now, I did listen to Anthony Bonda on a recent podcast, and he was talking about how he tries to remember the type of pitches and location when he's throwing at a batter, and then he tries to like eliminate those pitches so that the batter doesn't expect what to see next, right? So I feel like pitchers are athletic freaks, but also data nerds. How do you memorize all that stuff when you're out on the mound when the stake is high?
I'm a big like in the moment remembering, or like how for me specifically, like I don't. I'll look at a lot of like the scouting report data, but I don't necessarily like.
Hmm.
It's not super tangible while I'm out there. I'm not thinking about the scouting report. It's more about like I'll remember. It's weird. It's not even like a. It's not even like a logic based type of remembering. I just have this like when you face a guy enough, you remember what you did. It's not like I need to think about okay, in the 2-2 count, I did this. It was just like, oh, I remember he was
Right.
aggressive, he was this, he was that. You just kind of like feel it, and then whatever's working that day, I sort of like lean on. So if I feel like a guy is doing something or leaning out over the plate, it's very pitch to pitch for me. It's not
Hmm.
necessarily like overall arching scouting report unless there's like a really glaring like this guy has a zero average on a slider or like on a 2-1 he never swings or anything like that.
Right.
If it's super glaring, I'll look into it. But for the most part, it's like what's working that day and like how my pitches are tunneling. And I try to kind of simplify it, and I like go more for my strengths. And then if there's a guy who has done damage on something multiple times against me, it's like I might avoid that.
Right.
Um, but for the most part, it's just I try to simplify.
Is there a batter out there that's like the most challenging for you, and what makes them so tough that you might can recall out of all the people out there?
I can, I don't know recently like
Because
who I
Aaron
can.
Judge said you're like the nastiest one to go up against because of your height and you're on
I
the
remember
mound.
seeing
So
that. Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah. He does. He's done well against me too. I think like early, like we've kind of gone back and forth. I don't know. I remember answering this question a while ago. I think it was like early when I was in with the Rays. Like Xander against Boston was always pretty good. It was like a tough at bat.
okay,
Trey Turner was always pretty good, and like Soto probably just because his like walk rate's so high and he like takes pitches well, doesn't chase.
mm,
Probably something like that. I'd say.
okay, okay. Well, this show's called Full Count Podcast. It's a baseball term. In the literal sense, has there ever been a full count moment that was extremely intense that you can remember, even if you going back to the Pirates with all this time you've had?
Oh, I'm sure. I've had and with the Pirates, I probably had a lot of bases loaded 3-2 counts, and I would like walk a guy for the
Yeah,
most part, and then not specifically that I can remember like exactly who was on and everything like that, but yeah,
sure.
for sure. Like there's some times where like well, this recently last game, like I like just felt awful in the first inning, and it was bases loaded. I don't know. There was a lot of
That's
like
tough,
sticky one out counts
right?
with guys on that are rough, and I think a lot of times too, with like the days that you can't really time it up, those are hard. But it's another one of those like just try to like if I throw a ball next pitch, just try to go next pitch, next pitch, next pitch. If I go a little too much, like oh god, there's one out now, it's 3-2, and then I got to get this guy and this guy out. It's just too much to like think about in one moment.
Hmm.
but I don't have any like specific examples. But like, there's a lot of times where I'm like,
Right.
it's a sticky situation for sure.
Yeah, you seem really strong-willed then, and I'm sure you must have grown then from Pirates to Tampa
Yeah.
to now the
Sometimes I think
Dodgers.
it's like it jumps around. Sometimes you're
Right.
strong-willed. Certain games you feel good. It's easier than other games, and then sometimes you're like, "Fuck, this sucks." Like it just depends. Like, but yeah, early on with the Pirates, it was definitely way heavier. Then the Rays, it got easier, and then it just gets. I just guess you. It's like you've been in the situation more times, so it's not as like emotionally reactive. I guess it's like, okay, I've been here. This isn't great, but
Mm,
let's just whatever. Let's just pitch.
that's cool, man. Let's dive into a little bit of real estate because we also talk about real estate in terms of you used to be in Tampa, now you're at the in Los Angeles. Is there an area between the two where you feel you're more inspired by the homes or the lifestyle matches your type of vibe between the two?
I like California a lot just because I'm from here. I
Right.
honestly like both places. Like Tampa, California are great. Um, Splitting up time and stuff. They have
Hmm.
good things about them. And like Florida, there's not necessarily like a ton to do outside. You can go like water stuff and like a boat. And I think California's cool just because you can like go do anything, like go hike or do whatever you want. Like
Right. Be
everything
active.
is like close. There's a lot of really good food. There's a lot of like stuff to do. So if you're bored, it's a really good place to be. And then Florida's the same, but just maybe not as many options. I think like in terms of the
Interesting.
real estate market, Florida is probably better like place to invest in. California's, I guess, I don't know. Like California's, it's just been here a long time, a lot of up and down, a lot of like Florida, just like kind of where I'm at. Like it's grown so quickly, so that it was like
Right. And
it just seemed like a great place to be.
you're speaking Tampa specifically when you say Florida, right?
Yeah, Tampa for
Right.
sure. Yeah, like especially the last few years, like after COVID and stuff, it's been pretty crazy.
Yeah. Do you think that'll probably be like your future after baseball, Tampa,
I
or
don't know.
any
It would
idea?
depend on where family is and like where like what makes sense for my kids and stuff. I don't actually have any sort of like attachment to either of them. I kind of don't. It just depends like what makes the most sense. I could live honestly anywhere, depending on if it like was a shitty town or a bad town. Sorry, I don't know if I can cuss. I
No,
would
you're good.
probably
You're
not,
good.
but I think I've just lived so many different places through baseball that like I don't. You can
Right.
kind of. It just depends who you're with and like what you do on your routine and all that stuff, and so I don't really care.
Okay. Okay. Now, speaking of location, how do you go about like selecting a team that fits you besides the contract aside? Like, what do you look for? Is leadership, anything particular you're looking for?
I think my biggest thing is like off the field type of stuff, or like a town, like a city that I would want to live in, regardless of if I play baseball or not. I think is like
Mm,
big because it's so much of like, um, it's easy to you get along with your team, you're with them so long. It's just like more about how comfortable the people away from like your family and stuff are, and like a good
right.
place for potentially having like kids or whatever. Like there's a lot of different things I think about, but I think for the most part, it's like, is this a city that I would want to live in? And then obviously, is the team good? How are the coaches? How are the catchers? How's the defense? Like all that stuff goes into play. But I think number one obviously has to be like, if the team is awful, that's a no go regardless of the city. So
Right.
one number one would probably be like how the team functions, and then number two is like how my life and the people around me, how their life would be off the field.
Right. So number two is really important then, which is the location, 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 like everything in real estate.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Hmm.
that's good. Okay.
Yeah.
A few more questions I wanted to ask you in terms of like, the statistic I think is like 25% of all MLB players have won a World Series, but when it comes to U.S. Athletes, baseball players, senior year, only less than 1% make it to the show. Any advice you have for them and for anyone that wants to make it to the top 1%? Because you're in the top 1% in the world.
I I don't know. I would say just if it's working, keep doing it and
Hmm.
try to like put the blinders on and do whatever you can to do it. And then if it's not working, figure out a way to make it work and like
Right.
kind of tinker around and like know yourself, but also like be open to change and like figuring out ways like in terms of baseball, I guess like pitch until it works. And if it doesn't work, then figure out a way to be unique, find a way to stay
Mm.
in the league as long as you can. I'm not really sure. I guess that's probably all.
Well, no, I think that's important because you're basically saying be willing to switch it up, right? And a lot of people
Hmm.
are not willing to switch things up because it's scary when you switch things up, especially as you get older and get closer to, going to the MLB, I guess you could say, right? But I think that's where you have
Yeah.
like your coaches that help you. But the hardest thing that I find is whether it's a coach or a mentor, you just don't know if their advice is actually going to help you. And I think that's what can be a little scary, where you got to hop around and find someone to attach yourself to, right?
Yeah, I think it just yeah, like I think you should be open to like if things aren't working, that's when people generally try to change stuff and then like be
Hmm.
open to trying it a little bit, give it a chance and then be able to move on. And like don't be worried about like hurting people's feelings or don't be like stubborn in your ways either.
Right.
I think it's just finding like the formula. Um
Hmm.
yeah, I think like a lot of times too, maybe guys come up and like it worked in high school, worked in college, worked in the lower levels of the minor leagues, and then you become it's like you're just like a product of like inertia, and then it's not working in double A, triple A. And I think the hardest part is like switching up what you've been doing, switching up
Right.
how you throw or what you're throwing and everything. And I think that gets challenging for some guys, but
Hmm.
as long as you're willing to like adapt, it's usually pretty, you can kind of figure some things out about yourself.
Yeah, there it goes again. I think the mindset that you guys have is like top notch. I feel like if you chose a profession in business, you'd probably be one of the best. And speaking
I
of,
don't know.
I think
Probably
so.
not.
Maybe. I mean, I know
I
you're
don't
very
think so.
easygoing and cool, but I think you might be pretty good. But I mean, I'm learning a lot. I'm sure people are learning a lot listening right now. But I know a lot of people say, and I know you've heard this time and time again, but I am curious. A lot of people say your doppelganger is Cillian Murphy, Oscar-winning
Mhm.
actor. Once you're done with baseball, do you see yourself doing something like acting or anything particular, anything that you've been
No.
excited to
No,
do?
I don't know. I think I'll have like kids and stuff, and I'll probably just do a lot of that. I want to like continue to travel and like take them places and like do fun stuff with them,
Okay.
like try to be like active and do stuff like when I was a kid. I would like skate and snowboard and do like as much outdoor activities as you can, and like just I think that takes time and like that would be fun to probably. I'd probably just like zone in or like put most of my time in on my family, and then
Right.
as far as like what I would do, I don't want to do anything like probably spotlighty, I guess, like or acting. Like I think
Okay.
a lot of when I was younger, I used to think too baseball would be cool because you can get like you get like this notoriety or like I don't know, you become well known. And I think
For sure.
early in the big leagues, I got in and I was like, oh, I don't really like that. It's not like I don't like it, I just don't
Yeah.
really want to like lean into it.
Right.
I like I don't necessarily do like a ton of this like opportunity stuff outside of the field just because I don't know. I thought I would like really enjoy it and like have a platform and like fucking do all this stuff
Sure.
and brand deals and I like did some early and was like I don't like this. So I think
Mm.
I don't mind like the recognition or whatever like playing baseball for baseball, but a lot of the other stuff outside I don't necessarily think I would like lean into too much more. I don't know how I'll think when I'm done, but
Right.
I think it's more about just like finding having like a fun life and like a fulfilling life and just trying to figure out how to do that.
I don't know. What I'm hearing is I feel that once you retire, maybe you'll have like your own podcast about traveling and things like that. I mean, that would be kind of unique for you, or no?
I would travel. I don't know if I would do a maybe. I don't know
Yeah.
how I'll feel. Like part of me doesn't really want to like put it all over the internet,
Yeah.
but another part of me is like maybe if I'm bored, like I don't have any like maybe once baseball's gone, maybe there's something like I like about that.
Sure.
But I think like the easy answer for me is like I'm probably not going to do anything in like the public sphere. I'll go on like podcasts and do that stuff because it's fun, but I don't know if I would like try to do it on my own or like try to put myself out there. Who knows?
We'll have to see. Okay,
Yeah.
so I like to ask all my guests to leave a question for the next guest without you even knowing who it is. So I know it's a very
Hmm.
vague thing, but my last guest is Dana Dunford. She is a tech CEO of a very successful company for real estate property management. So it's virtual property management in Silicon Valley. So this is all the Stanford, Harvard people, and she
Hmm.
doesn't know who you were. But her question to you is, how do you define success and happiness? And do you think you made it in life?
I would say I think right now, I think it's like how I measure success now in the short term is like having the preparation of doing like getting it like so say you pitch and it's the next day and then you like check your boxes for the next day or like you do what you the best you can the next day. Say I pitch Sunday, Monday
Hmm.
is a recovery day and like so you have these things mapped out and then you do it as well as you can. You try and focus on that and then the next day is a lift day. And then the next day is where it's a lower body lift day and the next day is an upper body lift with a bullpen. And then it's like a mobility recovery day and then it's a pitch. I think it's like tackling all that stuff
Hmm.
while balancing all like the thoughts and like things you need to think about with it. Going into the start always feeling like relatively like you have that pressure, but it's like not a good or a bad feeling. It's just like that feeling that's like kind of sitting there. So it's this hard thing that you're trying to achieve. You go out. you pitch that day, you achieve this, like, it's like a difficult task, I guess. You go, you do it, it's done. Like that feeling
Right.
after being done, and like especially doing well, is like a short-term success. That's like, this is such a like an amazing feeling of like having something you're working towards, doing it, achieving it, then being done and having it start all over again, to like where it kind of resets and you get into this routine. I think there's
Mhm.
that feeling of pitching well or even pitching bad, like doing, just doing it, like having a purpose and like trying to achieve the purpose. That feeling is very addictive for me. Like I really
Mhm.
love that feeling. And then the long term, what I would define success as is like, I think if, I don't know, I think it's like a multiple, like it's a bunch of different boxes. Like if you're attending to all, like your family, relationships, like your physical, your mental, you're doing all that and you're kind of like putting time into each bucket, and like you can kind of sit down at night and be like, all right, I'm doing what I can, and like I
Right.
feel like I am trying to not necessarily like move upwards, but like I'm
Yeah.
like I'm moving in a positive direction. I think it's like to where you can find like a certain level of content at the day. Like you're not happy to just like not achieve. You're not content in doing nothing, but you're content in like things are right. Like I'm on the right path type of thing. Is what I think like maybe like a
Yeah.
long term success is. And then yeah, I guess like the longest term success is like finding that content while
Right.
being like working hard. I guess I don't know. What was this? What was the last part of the
The
question?
last one was, do you think you've made it in life?
No, I don't know. No, I think like I think once you think you've made it, that means you're like done. And I don't know.
Yeah.
Like I think doing well in baseball was like one hump I got over. And I guess when I was younger, I was like, if I just do well and make money and stuff in baseball, then I'll be. But you quickly realize like that doesn't, like the guy who has 10 years is just as stressed out as the guy who has 1 year. Like
That's
maybe not
interesting.
financially, but like you
Right.
just, yeah, it doesn't really like fix anything, or like it gives you peace of mind and like financial security, but you don't like, the fulfilled thing is still, you still want to like work towards it and figure it out.
Hmm.
And then like, I think the biggest challenge is when baseball is over, that's such a huge chunk of that part of your life. Like the fulfillment comes from that. And I think it's finding like purpose outside of that. And I think a lot of guys find it through family or like something else you're doing,
Their
something you're like
outlet.
working towards and trying to get better at. So no, I don't think I've made it. I don't know. I'm still like young and I have like a lot of life to live. So
Good.
I don't feel like I've made it at all.
You definitely have to some degree. I think, like you said, like
Certain
you
parts,
have
I guess.
boxes you check off.
Yeah.
Yeah, you seem
Yeah.
very methodical in the way you look at things, right? Like you really do have a vision of what's next in some ways, it seems like.
Yeah. For sure. I think with certain stuff, yeah. I think I'm always just trying to find like the, like when, like I said, I guess that feeling of like content and like, all right, things are going well. Like I'm always just hunting that feeling. I think there's times where I'm like not in a good headspace or something and off or whatever. Like
Hmm.
I feel like I'm not doing everything I can to like be as good as I can. I think there's always that little voice that's like being kind of lazy right now or like
Yeah.
whatever that is. So I think I'll probably have to fight that my whole, not fight it, but like live with that my whole life. And then,
Hmm.
which is good. That's like a
That is
nice
good.
little, it like pushes you to be, it just doesn't let you like not try and like just sit there and like idle. So
Yeah, so I don't really see you being on the couch playing video games or anything like that later on. You're going to be
I
like,
don't know, maybe not in like a habit. I think that's like not a bad thing. I
uh
think
huh.
if you can, if you like, but it has to be in like a routine, I guess. Or like if you want to do it, like do it for a little bit, but don't
Right.
like do it for
It's
45
like
hours. Because I do have a
phases.
really addictive personality in that. Like if I did, I could see the appeal of like sitting on a couch for 10 hours playing video games every day, but like I can't. I would be miserable if I did that. It's like addictive in that way, but
Yeah.
I think it's like anything. You have to find like it's just a balance, like doing it a healthy amount, not like
Hmm.
until your eyes bleed. You know.
Right. I mean, people love that, but that makes sense.
I know.
Okay, so what's the question you have for my next guest? You obviously don't know who it is. I don't even know who it is right now.
Yeah.
It can be anything, really.
Um, what is your like what brings you the most confidence in yourself? Like what makes you feel that you've like fulfilled in your own self? And then what
Hmm.
is your biggest opposite of that? Like your biggest fear or your biggest like what are you afraid of the most, I guess, is a
Sure.
good one.
Okay. And speaking of that, I mean, now that's a good question for you. Like, what's your biggest fear? Because mine is, a lot of people don't suspect this, but mine is public speaking, and I hate being at the center stone of something. And I'm sure
Hmm.
you're obviously there on the mound, everyone's looking at you. So I don't like public speaking, but I've been in a position where I kind of have to because of my career.
Hmm.
But for you, like, what do you fear most?
I used to fear in the minor leagues like not making it, I guess, or like just like having a high school education and then like not panning out and like being 30 or something and like not,
Yeah,
which
that's
isn't like, it's
tough.
still, you're playing professional baseball. It's still like a really cool, and like there's opportunities potentially after just like from the experience, but
Hmm.
like the on paper stuff was tough. I think like maybe that used to be my biggest fear was like
Okay.
doing all this and like not panning out and like just trying to like
Yeah.
claw to find a thing that was like fulfilling laughter. And I don't, and then now I don't necessarily think of that as like, it's easy to say now because I've done well in baseball. Like that's not it's like a really cool milestone, and it's what I don't know if that like brings anyone like ultimate happiness. I guess like like
Right.
being the best pitcher. I guess maybe for it's very it's an awesome feeling and stuff like that. But I don't. I think my biggest fear stemmed from that being like, this is my purpose, and if I don't do well in this, then like I don't have anything. So I think like
Yeah.
finding an identity outside of baseball a while ago has been like helpful in that regard. And now my biggest fear, probably like I don't know, I don't know.
It's not jumping out of
Uh,
airplanes because I heard you say you jumped out of an
no,
airplane once just because of some. I
no,
forgot
no.
what you wanted to get back on
I don't
track.
know.
Okay.
Probably like I don't know, like someone like losing someone that's like before their I
Time.
don't know. Yeah, or something. I don't know. I guess
Okay.
probably that. It's like a pretty easy answer. I'd say maybe like
Yeah.
someone like yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
All right. So let's wrap it up with rapid fire house edition. Okay. These are the last questions, and you just spit off the answer.
Okay.
Beach house, or mountain house?
Probably just for the I want both, I guess. But I would say beach for like every day. Beach probably.
Okay. Sunset or sunrise view? So the positioning.
Sunset.
Sunset. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, makes sense. Mid-century modern home, so the architecture, or a Spanish home?
Oh, those are both. I like Spanish homes a lot. Mid-century modern schools, probably Spanish.
Okay. Pool or guest house?
Pool or guest house?
One or the other. Yep. Can only have one.
Pool.
Okay. City or suburbs?
Ooh, now I'd say city, but once I have kids, suburbs.
Okay. Wine cellar or movie theater room?
Probably movie theater room. I can just leave wine bottles in like somewhere else. Yeah,
That makes sense. Or you can just go to Napa or something.
yeah.
Fitness room or podcast room?
Fitness room.
Okay, cool, man. Well, again, thank you so much for being on today. And everyone watching, like and subscribe. We're all going to be following you, man. We're excited for you, and we hope the best when you're out there on the mound.
Appreciate it, dude. Thanks for having me on. That was fun.
Thank you, dude. Thank you.